Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it is my pleasure on behalf of the ReCAP Program Management Unit to welcome you to the ReCAP final event. My name is Caroline Visser. I'm responsible for knowledge management and communications of the program, and I will be the moderator for the first part of this webinar. And we're pleased to welcome you in such a large number. Our program today is themed ReCAP Achievements and Impact, looking beyond 2020. Our aim with this event is first of all to clearly mark the end of the ReCAP program. As per 14 December, so next Monday, the program will cease its activities on high impact rural access research after over 6 years. The event therefore provides the occasion to look back on some of the impact the ReCAP research has had. And this will be covered through presentations in the first part of the webinar from a selection of our partner countries in Asia and Africa. The second part will actually focus on looking ahead, and we'll address some of the questions related to the future rural access research in the partner countries that ReCAP has been working with. We will furthermore have interventions from some of the institutional stakeholders that we've been working with to hear about their views. This part of the webinar will be moderated by Nazir Ali, who is chair of the AFCAP program, the African component of ReCAP. We will end the webinar with a brief presentation on the highlights of the ReCAP exit strategy, and we will provide you with some information on what will happen with key assets that have been developed under the program. Before we start, I would like to provide some housekeeping remarks and rules. As participants, your video is off and your microphone is muted. We invite you to make use of the question and answer function should you wish to address specific questions to the speakers or the moderators. You may also want to use the chat function for more general remarks that will go to the full audience or with specific questions for the PMU. And for those of you who are using social media, the hashtag for this event is #ReCAPBeyond2020. Please also know that this webinar is being recorded and it will be made available on the ReCAP YouTube channel by the end of the week. I would now like to kick off the program and give the floor to a representative of the funder of the ReCAP program, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, formerly DFID. Mr. Mark Harvey is Head of Profession for Infrastructure and Urban at FCDO. Mark is one of 13 Head of Professions and they provide professional leadership on development issues in their areas of expertise. You will be able to find the full biographies of our speakers and panelists in the chat box. So Mark, I'm happy to give the floor to you.
Great. How am I sounding, appearing, communicating? If somebody could give me a thumbs up or wave or just answer.
We can hear and see you very well.
Great. I can't quite see myself, so oh, yes, I can. I know we're all getting used to this. I tend to use a different system within FCDO, but I won't bore everybody with that. So look, I'm honoured. Really, I'm pleased to be here. I realise it's the end of an era, but it's the start of something new, which is very, very similar to FCDO. I'm impressed, Caroline, that you were able to get the acronym correct as the merger of Department for International Development and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office into the new Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. But I won't take too much time boring people with that. Why I'm honoured is because my heart is in rural access in a big way. I have not been involved that much over the years. I'm a water person from way back when, but my credentials are centered around the rural access program in Nepal, which I'm sure featured in a lot of the research and the thinking and the findings of this excellent program. I did prepare some notes. I did skim the program review document, and I'm familiar with some of it. So, but I am sort of making this up a little bit as I go along. I do apologize for that. Been a bit of a rush this week. but that program review document was an excellent report, and I can see from the agenda today, not all the countries I'm that familiar with, but there's a speaker from the Afghanistan Rural Road Network there, where I was involved with MRRD some time ago. The work in Tanzania, the focus on motorcycle taxis is relevant, but of course there was an excellent piece of work done in the last couple of years that appeared in the World Bank Lifelines report on the impacts of climate change and hydrology on road networks and their vulnerability in Tanzania. And the third one on rural road research in Myanmar takes me back to that time in Nepal when we were working with what was then called DOLIDAR, the Department of Local Infrastructure Development and Agricultural Roads. And we were trying to work with them to institutionalize a lot of the practice in the Rural Access Program in Nepal. So I'm familiar with that. What's interesting from where I sit at the moment in the new FCDO is I started with, before DFID was DFID, when we were ODA, back in the 1990s, that saw the evolution in Nepal. I won't focus too much on Nepal all the time, but the evolution from work on the main highway network, the national highway network, and the Dharan-Dankuta highway in the east, evolved into the Rural Access Program, which was extending the network through the mid-hills. And then RAP in Nepal over 15, 20 years is evolved from labour-based construction, environmentally sound approaches, labour-based groups with a lot of women's involvement, taking account of agricultural seasons and working practices in construction, and then evolved into a network thinking, asset management, and really has built the capacity in the sector, which is what ReCAP is all about. So that's a great story, but it flags up the important things. I mean, that was dealing, the technical aspects then were dealing with local environmental conditions, but in particular climate change. So without jumping ahead too far through your agenda, people will want to know what of the future, given that ReCAP is coming to an end. Well, FCDO is supporting the HVT, High Volume Transport Program, which is all about networks and interconnections, multimodal thinking, addressing climate change agenda. There's a new program of research on climate compatible growth. We still have poverty and inclusion at the top of our priority list in these future programs. And what else can I say just now? Really pleased to have been invited. I'm just skimming the agenda. Other locations spring to mind as well. So your chair for the moderator, Nazir Ali from South Africa. I was involved some time ago in the labour-intensive rural road maintenance program there with Northern Province. So for me, rural access, rural roads, hugely important, not forgotten in FCDO, definitely not. We have evolving priorities, as you can imagine, with a bilateral that's quite a politically influenced, with a small p, bilateral organisation, but we're still there. It's all about networks, it's all about resilience, it's all about interconnectedness. And which takes me back to Diffrid's infrastructure policy paper from 2002, which was called Making Connections. So in a physical sense, that's what this is about. In a professional sense, that's what this event is about. And have a great day. And I will continue to listen. And I do, although I've been given this 5-minute slot, I do intend to stay engaged and join in at the end. I'm happy to join any Q&A or panel discussion if Caroline is prepared to accommodate that at the last minute. So I hope that is an adequate introduction. I'll pass over to the experts and Caroline's excellent moderation. Thank you very much. Happy to take a Q&A now if you want. One or two.
Let me see if there's already something showing up. No, not yet, but we will save your questions when they pop up. So happy to take your offer there. Thank you for these remarks. I think I would agree that ReCAP has been and is about connectivity, rural populations, obviously, but also among the people that have been involved in the program over the last years. So it also a network has been created in that aspect. I would now like to start the first part of the webinar program, addressing some of the achievements and impacts of the ReCAP research in our beneficiary countries. And I would kindly invite Joseph Howle, ReCAP team leader, to provide a brief overview of some of the key ReCAP achievements over the past 6 years. I'm assuming we have there, Joseph is, yes.
Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, wherever you may be. Yeah, as you have been informed, my presentation will cover a brief summary, a brief overview of the ReCAP achievements over the life of the program. The presentation, can you load the presentation, please? Millennium? Millennium, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's coming out, Joseph.
Can you load the presentation, please? Yes, so this is my presentation, actually. Next slide, please. Yeah, one of our achievements as ReCAP is that in the area of policy, the program is recognized worldwide as a leader in advocating the importance of rural access and transport. Our partner countries over the lifetime of the ReCAP has adopted around 56 policy papers and documents that has impacted over 630,000 kilometers of rural roads. We have seen some indications showing that our documents, policy documents, are of interest to some other countries in Africa, and some other countries that were not part of the program are now implementing some of the outputs that the program has produced over time. Next slide, please. In the same area of policy and advocacy, the program has contributed significantly in the area of sustainable rural access by leading a working group that was coordinated by the Sum for All of the World Bank, that was being managed by the World Bank. And the working group produced a roadmap of actions towards achieving sustainable mobility in the rural areas. This document was part of the main document called the Global Roadmap of Actions that was launched last year during the annual meeting of the World Bank and the IMF. The document was well received by countries around the world, and many countries have pledged to implement some of the measures that the document had proposed. Next slide, please. The program has also produced manuals and guidelines that provide solutions to problems of rural access and transport in rural areas. The program has also identified tools and techniques such as the use of drones and satellites imagery in road condition and the inventory surveys. In terms of current challenges that developing countries are facing, for instance, in the area of climate adaptation, the program has produced guidelines that provide measures that the countries can adopt in order to mitigate the challenge of climate change in their countries. Next slide, please. We have seen over the years that guidelines and manuals that ReCAP has produced have been mainstreamed in curriculums of universities and other regulatory authorities. As far as the regulatory authorities are concerned, there is a presentation in this webinar coming from Tanzania, and you will hear more about how Tanzania has managed to mainstream guidelines that were produced by ReCAP. Academic institutions like the University of Malawi and also the Birmingham University have used material that ReCAP has produced in their undergraduate and postgraduate lectures. ReCAP has also supported the establishment of the Sub-Saharan Center for Transport Leadership, which has been established in Ghana and being implemented by Kwame Nkrumah University. It is our hope that partner countries and other countries around the world will use this opportunity to send students for their master's program. Next slide, please. Rural Access is another flagship project which we have undertaken within ReCAP. The project has come up with a solution on how to measure accurately, almost accurately, rural access in a situation where road condition data is not available by using an index. The project has also identified technologies such as street maps and world prop to calculate road access index. As a result of these initiatives, Rural Access Index has now been promoted from Tier 3 to Tier 2 as an SDG indicator. And the UN and the World Bank has recognized the work that ReCAP has done in this area to be highly beneficial to our countries. It's our hope that our countries, our partner countries and other countries around the world will use the methodology that ReCAP has developed to measure rural access in their countries. And here we would wish to emphasize that road authorities and the ministries responsible for roads will work together with the statistics departments in order to calculate on an annual basis the rural access index. Next slide, please. ReCAP has managed to establish a community of practitioners in rural access and transport by bringing together researchers around the world, and mainly through our interregional meetings which we had conducted, which have proved to be very beneficial to countries. The programs has also been able to work and reach practitioners who are working in fragile countries such as in South Sudan and Afghanistan, and hence improve their capacity in addressing rural access challenges in their countries. Next slide, please. So that is a brief overview of what ReCAP has been able to achieve over the life of ReCAP. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much, Joseph. And the presentation definitely shows the breadth of the ReCAP program, which, as many of you know, didn't just concern the rural road infrastructure, but we had a large segment of research focusing on the transport services that are actually provided on those infrastructure networks. So thank you for that overview, Joseph. I would now like to move to our country case study presentations. So our first speaker is Dr. Charles Adams, who is an associate professor in civil engineering at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, the College of Engineering in Ghana. Among other functions, he's the center leader for the Center for Sub-Saharan Transport Leadership, CSSTL, which was established through ReCAP. He will be addressing the next steps for the CSSTL in his presentation. His expertise is in transportation infrastructure systems design, construction, operation, monitoring, and maintenance. So I would like to give the floor to Dr. Adams, please.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning and good afternoon to all those on the call.
Sorry, everybody, I just got a quick technical difficulty. I'll be online again now.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Charles Adams from the Center for Sub-Saharan Transport Leadership. I'm the center leader. I want to give you an overview of what we've been doing in the last couple of months to a year on the Center for Sub-Saharan Transport Leadership at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, Ghana. The CSSTL, or the Center for Sub-Saharan Transport Leadership, is actually launching a new Master of Science in Transport Leadership, which will be starting in September 2021. In this presentation, I want to give you a snapshot of what we've been doing and some of the achievements we've chalked and what are the next steps. So what is our aim, or what did we set out to do? We set out to establish a sustainable CSSTL at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, which will become a center of excellence for transport leadership in Africa. And also, we want to establish a postgraduate degree in transport leadership that will attract high-flyer candidates from industry across sub-Saharan Africa. We want to develop CPD offerings based around the postgraduate degree modules that can act as further capacity development for the industry. I want to create a self-sustaining CSSTL, which is premised on cost recovery beyond the end of ReCAP, which is incidentally the end of this year. Within the master's program, we have a number of modules, and these modules are in 3 categories. We have leadership modules, which is about 20%. We have management modules, another 20%, and the remaining 60% are made up of technical modules. So we have management modules like transport leadership, leadership development. Then we have management modules, management and business operations. And we are introducing one of our flagship program, which is Transport and Society, which talks about the SDGs and the interaction of transport and mobility with society, and so many other technical subjects. And we believe that this will give a very good grounding for practitioners in the industry as far as technical subjects are concerned. It will give them very good understanding of management issues that relate to mobility and transport, and they will also be able to hone their leadership skills after they've been able to be instructed in very basic subjects. Over the last 1 year or so, we've tried to arrange partnership. Let me say that the CSSTL is actually hosted at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where we have a World Bank Africa Center of Excellence Regional Transport Research and Education Center, TREC. So all partners of TREC are automatically part of this. And we also do have other key partners like Mott MacDonald, University of Cape Town, University of Birmingham, the IRF, we joined the World Road Association, ASANRA, Development Bank of Southern Africa, with whom we are exploring how to develop the management modules and the transport leadership modules. Then we have the Ministry of Roads and Highways in Ghana, Ministry of Transport, who have also given their full backing to this program, plus other people like the World Bank, the Association of African Universities, and so many other partners, both industry and academic, that are related to TREC. Where are we now? How established are we? At the moment, we have physical facilities, including learning commons, that have been refurbished and finished. We have obtained or applied for accreditation from the Ghana National Accreditation Board. Hopefully, when we have been able to graduate the first cohort, we will apply for international accreditation. We have an admission portal, which is our website at www.csstl.knusc.edu.gh. And I must say that our teaching staff have been identified from faculty from KNUST and UCT and other industry people who will be giving lectures. And all of them have attended blended learning design training, and hopefully we will be developing the key content to offer this course as a blended learning offering. We envisage that September 2021, 25 students will be enrolled, 70% from the region across Africa, 30% national students, and 30% will be reserved for female applicants. And we encourage ladies to apply. We have produced a number of things for advertisements. Notable among them are 2 videos that are on YouTube on CSSTL and also the Masters in Transport Leadership. Let me say that this offering will be 70% online, and the remaining 30% will be by face-to-face instruction on the KNUST campus. That's why we say we are giving a blended learning offering. Now, at the moment, we have developed blended learning plans, very detailed course outlines with assignments and everything. And the facilitators will use that to develop the full-blown modules after December 2020. And hopefully we will go through the last few things to be done before the course itself rolls out in September. So where are we and where do we want to go? We want to set up formal partnership and focus on the sustainability of the CSSTL. That's our vision. We want to consolidate our efforts and build the brand of CSSTL and its reputation across Africa and the world. We want to be able to organize industry events, conferences, webinars for the CSSTL. And CSSTL will grow to become the leading voice for transport leadership in Africa. And we envision a CSSTL which will become the organization that influences and drives transport leadership and generally transport agenda forward across the world, particularly in Africa. Thank you very much.
Yes, many thanks, Dr. Adams, for this overview of where the CSSTL currently stands. And it's good to see that so many things are basically ready to go. For the moment, I don't see any hands raised or questions. So I do have a little question on my own. I remember a ReCAP workshop we organized at an IRF conference in Namibia in 2017. And that was to discuss the Transport Sector Leadership Program, which was at the foundation of CSSTL. I will just repeat the question that I posed there, which caused a bit of discussion, and would be happy to have your views on it. Does one need an engineering degree in order to become a transport leader? What would you say?
Thank you for that. This is something that we debated during the curriculum development and also before we applied for accreditation. You know, the transport sector is not an engineering sector, so you will have a number of people who will be in transport leadership or are in transport leadership already who are not engineers. So the answer is no, you don't need an engineering degree, but you need relevant experience and you need to have a career path that is along transportation to be able to join the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Without further ado, I would like to move to our next speaker. And we are delighted to have Ms. Safia Jamal. She's a senior gender specialist of the Ministry of Rural Rehabilitation and Development of Afghanistan. Mrs. Jamal has over 10 years of work experience with both national and international organizations and government in the field of gender and environmental social safeguards, monitoring and evaluation, and program management. And currently, Mrs. Jamal is head of the gender department in a regional program at MRRD in Afghanistan. So Ms. Jamal, over to you, please.
About gender mainstreaming guideline of ReCAP, that how it impacted in the case of Afghanistan, the transport sector. So the first slide, as I mentioned, that it's clearly that applying the ReCAP gender mainstreaming guideline in the transport sector in the case of Afghanistan. As you can see in here that ReCAP gender mainstreaming guideline definitely helped us to promote consultation with both men and women. And starting from the design, implementation, infrastructure, and all the project cycle, it helped us. Moreover, MRD programs use these guideline in all project activities, starting from consultation, implementation, as well as in the monitoring and supervision sections. I just want to mention that when I was developing gender strategy of MRD, I got this guideline, and most of the parts were really helpful to develop this strategy and helped me very well. So one part that really grabbed my attention, it was very useful to build my gender strategy, was the checklist, which was about the gender mainstreaming in transport service data. And on that, I saw that it was mentioned about the qualitative and quantitative data collection methods, which really helped us to do how to do data collections when you're in the community. So it was very effective for us. It was just an example, although we used many other things also. So as a result, I figured that women in rural communities are now aware of their rights, and they express their views very independently. And they're, I could say that they're very interested now to have participation in consultation and share their ideas and their project designs, especially in the road sections. And the next slides, you can see in here that the pictures, it's about the gender achievement and approaches. One picture is taken in Kabul and the other is taken in Kandahar city. It's our focus group discussion meeting with our gender officer. Went there and talked with female staff, with female community members, and it was really effective. And women were talking about their needs, priorities, what they want, and gender. Our gender team also in rural communities really did their best to build women capacity. Also I can say that gender checklists from Research Community Access Partnership help gender staff in lots of areas, as I said, that in data collection methods, it was really helpful for us. And the other point I want to say that is that this guideline definitely help us and to enhance women capacity in their communities and raise their voice. And through these focus group consultations that we had with women, approximately I could say that 8,556 women got direct awareness about our projects, and 4,144 got indirect consultation. And that was really a good achievement for us, that through these focus groups, we did that awareness raising programs. And these focus groups were really effective for us. Okay, in here you see that this is a very interesting case study. I could say that she is Sima. Sima is 20 years old girl, and she's really ambitious girl. And now she is head of the Community Development Council. And she lives in Herat city, Herat province, which is one of the village that is Afzal village, which is very far from the city. And in this city, this lady did a very good job. When we started our focus group there, she started to talk and raise her voice. And on that time, she grabbed our attention, but she was talking particularly about the commitment that she had toward her village. And she raised her voice and said that we want a road for our village. And I, as a girl, want to promote my village and want to see my village in a very good way. So definitely her commitment grabbed our attention. And we did her, as she requested us to build this road. So our minister also showed willingness and accept her request. Now you can see the picture in here that the village is very far from the city. And I can say that it's one of the villages that is mostly occupied by the Taliban. But that lady did her best. And I quoted one of her saying that it's mentioned in the slide that this road is a vein to the village. It brings security, prosperity. And when it is done, I'll be glad. It's difficult, but it's my responsibility and I'm determined to do it. So this really grabbed our attention and she was very enthusiastic to do her job accurately. Now I can say that she's one of the contractor of this project, and always she comes and visit that site to know how is going to work and what are the difficulties, what are the challenges. The last slide is about conclusion. I mentioned in here both the challenges and recommendations. So as you know, Afghanistan is a country that faced lots of difficulties and war impacted it very badly. So the first challenge is that lack of gender staff, which in most of the rural communities, we don't have female staff there because of the Taliban issue or things that are not going well in that areas. The other challenging issue is that lack of education and literate women in rural. It's really hard to find a female that is educated, and which is very hard for us to find such a lady, such a woman in that kind of areas. The other challenge is that definitely influence of culture. Like we have good culture and bad culture, but mostly bad culture does affect rural areas and don't let the women to go outside their house and work. And also the other point is that we have men-dominated society. Men-dominated society means all the good benefits are going first for the men and then for the women. If in case there will be something remaining, then it will go for women. Also, as I mentioned before, also that women being targeted by the Taliban, mostly Taliban target women there and they don't let them to work outside their houses. Also negative impacts of war. These decades of war definitely impacted women very badly. And women were like, they didn't have access to education, access to healthcare systems, access to roads to go somewhere, these things. And the recommendation that I have mentioned in here is that in order to represent women challenges in rural development, a higher proportion of women is needed to be hired, and like in government, we should give more opportunity for women to be in the positions as decision makers in their communities. Opportunities also should be provided for women, like building their capacities, giving them more chances to be part of education system. And the other thing is that we should do more awareness raising on gender equity and equality and social inclusion. Also, we should give more awareness for both men and women about their rights, that what should they do. And the last thing is that training on gender mainstreaming should be provided for everyone in the community, mostly elders and mullahs of that community, because they are those people that they are mostly decision taker in their communities. And that's really important to give them awareness about the issues, gender mainstream issues. Thank you so much. I conclude my presentation in here. And if there's any question, I'm available.
Yes, thank you, Safia. That was a very interesting case study from Afghanistan, and it's impressive to see a country with such tough circumstances, especially for women. The MRD is really picking up on the gender mainstreaming guidelines, and these were prepared as based on a suite of ReCAP projects, both in Asia and Africa. And I understand that we don't currently have Safia online. So if there's any question, please post them, and we will sure she will be able to respond to them hopefully later. But I'm hoping that that MRD will be able to take up some of the recommendations that Safia has formulated in her presentation. So moving on to our next speaker from Tanzania, Mr. Johann Sankagatano, who is Director of Transport and Roads Control at the Land Transport Regulatory Authority, LATRA. He's a mechanical engineer by background, cum police officer. So he has worked with the Tanzanian police force for 20 years, including 17 years in the traffic police department. And now, since 5 years, he's working in the Transport Authority. So he will be speaking to the research that was carried out on the ReCAP on motorcycle safety and what LATRA has been doing to incorporate its results. So Mr. Gaetano, the floor is yours, please.
Caroline, we seem to have lost connection with him briefly.
Okay. Would it then be possible to move to the next presentation?
That's fine on my side.
Yeah. Okay, so we hope we can come back to Mr. Gaetano and that he will be, I can see him online, but something seems to be the matter. So first, let us move then to our next speaker. This will be Mr. Su Tun Neng, who is Deputy Director General at the Department of Rural Road Development in the Ministry of Construction of Myanmar. As a Deputy Director General, he's responsible for the design, inspection, quality control, supervision of construction and maintenance works of rural roads in Myanmar. And he will be presenting the developments and institutionalization of rural road research in the department, and a process that was actually supported through ReCAP. So Mr. Nang, the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm truly honored to have this opportunity to attend this event. I'm Su Tun Neng from Myanmar. I'm a Deputy Director General of Department of Rural Road Development, Ministry of Construction.
Mr. Nang, sorry to interrupt. We will show the recording of your presentation, if that's okay. And if there's any question, we will call you to respond.
It's okay. Okay. Thank you so much. It's a recording. It's
Yes, there it goes.
good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'm truly honored to have this opportunity to attend this event. Uh, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Sotonai. My position is a Deputy Director General from Department of Rural Road Development, Ministry of Construction in Myanmar. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the institutionalization of the rural road research, the case of Myanmar. The case of Myanmar. I briefly explain about my country. Our country faces a lot of technical and financial challenge. For example, lack of adequate rural road infrastructure, difficulty in traveling from one place to another during the wet season, having no accessibility to any kinds of road for 9.2 million of the rural people. For above cases, we need a reliable rural road network. Here, what I mean by the reliable rural road network is we need to have good rural access in our country. If we do have a good rural access, we will see an improvement in socio-economic development. This will definitely lead to a better quality of life in our country. As far as I'm concerned, ReCAP program signed on MOU in 2017 and end of 2020. Consequently, we established the Rural Research and Development Unit. The RDU has the following goal: to gain new knowledge and disseminate them, to develop the rural road sector, and to develop the human capital. After establishing the RD Research and Development Unit, we had some achievements. These are implementation of updated Research and Development Unit business plan, capacity building and training for long-term pavement performance monitoring of surfacing trial with ReCAP support. These are TGI-1A and Ayawari project. And intensive management training at CSIR South Africa in March and April 2019, and training of Research and Development Unit staff and DRRD engineer in Nebiro, Myanmar by CSIR team. Participated in the 12 low-volume rural road DRV conference at Montana, USA last year, September. Presented extended abstract research capacity building intervention in rural road sector in Myanmar. Published low volume rural road design manual for DRRT Myanmar 2020. Translation process ongoing. Contributing to updating guidelines for paved roads. Research center building completed. Expected to be fully established in March 2021. Research laboratory equipment from international organization, grant by World Bank, ADP, KRW, and procurement. Moreover, we already got the following equipment from my government budget, and the research building already finished, which is guidance by the CSIR. The above table is show the equipment list, and the photo is the research center building or already finished. But we cannot start to run because of the challenges. The challenges are insufficient research knowledge, lack of information center, insufficient research facility, and insufficient human resources. To sum up, the following things are the ways to succeed the rural road research. You trial demonstration of for long-term patient performance monitoring that include greater innovation in low-volume rural road design for cost-effective rural access, and updating low-volume rural manual that are major changes every 5 years and minor changes annually, and research and development unit RDU to link with local and international universities. Engagement development partner included FEDO UK for further support for DRRD research and development unit research activities. DRD will continue strengthening of the research and development unit, including continue monitoring of recently built road section and sustainable allocation of budget for research needs, and improve the rural road quality with the help of well-established laboratory and well-qualified staff. Publishing conference paper, guidelines, and manuals. Implementation mentorship program to develop key research skills for research and development unit DRRD standing independently in the future. Thank you for my presentation.
Caroline, you're on mute.
Apologies. Thank you very much for that presentation, and it's really good to see that a good start has been made in Myanmar with establishing the rural research capacity, and obviously challenges are still remaining. I was interested by the way forward that you were presenting, and I was wanting to know what would be the actions that DRRD will be prioritizing or trying to pick up first as a priority?
It's a training program of the research development unit, especially for the laboratory training, because of the laboratory training is a lack of the technical purpose and technical knowledge. And second one is a long-term patient performance training. It's a very good program of the ReCAP. Thank you so much for your support.
Well, thank you for that response. I now see that we have Mr. Sankagatano back with us, so I would suggest that we move to his presentation. So the floor is yours, Mr. Sankagatano.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm very sorry for the inconvenience caused because I was out of network for little time. And my presentation is on ReCAP and promotion of motorcycle safety in Tanzania. Next slide, please. As we're speaking now, Tanzania, we are using the curriculum for motorcycle tax, which has been developed by LATRA through the support of ReCAP, Aid, and TransAid. And now the curriculum is already translated in Kiswahili, which is the national language, and submitted to the police, who are the custodian of motor vehicle and motorcycle training. And now it's being used in various driving schools. But also through the ReCAP support, they've been able to enjoy further support of instructor's manual for motorcycle training, which is now also being translated, but also we got to support on development of a manual for motorcycle and the three-wheeler tax associations. Now, the curriculum is aiming at improving level of competence on motorcycles riders for the purpose of improving safety, which has been a very big challenge since the business of motorcycle tax started in Tanzania, but also it is enhancing the quality of personal services, because this is a business. I want passengers to enjoy, to get quality services for the money they are paying for the service. But also we want to reduce the motorcycle operation costs. And all those are being clearly stated in the curriculum, and those who are getting training are trained on those aspects. Next slide, please. The curriculum contains quite a number of modules, which are addressing a number of things, right from safety issues, quality of services, finance, cross-cutting issues like HIV, AIDS, but also the issue of security. And I would like to speak on the security part of it, because I'm a police officer and I've been seeing how much the motorcyclists have been affected by brutal killings, being robbed by the motorcycles. So the curriculum is now addressing all those issues, and, whereby those who are getting training, they are taken to those issues and made aware on how they should operate their motorcycles. Next slide. The curriculum, since we started in 2016, we have realized quite a number of impacts. One is the level of compliance. Unlike what we used to see 9-10 years back, now the compliance level has gone up. Motorcyclists now are having motor vehicle license. The motorcycles are insured. They're also paying for regulatory license and complying with traffic laws, like observing traffic signs, proper maneuvering, etc. But also the number of road crashes has gone down. Every end of the year, we get a report from the police. The trend now has been going down every year. And there also growing investment interest. Many people now are trying to invest in that area, because the initial capital investment is low, but now the business seems to be a bit secure, because they can really realize their return on the investment. There are also people now developing interest in using motorcycles, because now they see it as a safer mode of transport, unlike the way it used to be some years back. So people now can comfortably use as mode of transport they're sure that they'll get to the end of their journey safely. And also, people now who join that business as riders are now turning to owners because they're getting profit out of the operations. Now they're being transformed now from riders who are like employees. Now they're coming owners and employers to others. So through that curriculum, that's the impact which you have now realized that through comprehensive training, which covers quite a range of spectrum of issues. Now, people find that there's a business to do, the right mode of transport to use, and so forth. Next slide. But through ReCAP, we in Tanzania, we had an opportunity of getting sponsorship to attend the workshop in Ghana, in which we joined other countries like Kenya and Uganda, also Ghana itself. And then this workshop, we shared experience through the research which was conducted in those African countries. And what we found out of these findings, that actually the motorcycle taxi operations have got common benefits to our countries. One is access to markets, that people now can easily access markets, particularly in the rural areas, whereas this is to go on foot to travel long distance on foot, but now they can use motorcycles to go to the market to buy commodities and bring them to our shops and things like that. But also, people now, it is there for them to access healthcare services, particularly pregnant mothers. It was revealed from the report that pregnant mothers are the most beneficiary of that mode of transport. So when we make them safer through this formal training, definitely the benefit is going to be as big as I think everyone expects. But also, it is easier now for the challenge for the rural areas, which have got difficult infrastructures to use motorcycles, because that is easier now for motorcycles to use narrow roads. If the road is maybe having potholes, it can easily be used by motorcycle, unlike it is for motor vehicles. And finally, I think these three documents which have been developed by ReCAP, the curriculum, instructor manual, and the motor vehicle association manuals, they're going to promote safety for quite a long time. In Africa, Tanzania in particular, because we have them already, and we are now in the process of translating the two manuals. So after all the documents being translated and separated to key stakeholders, that we're going to realize everlasting safety in that particular area of motorcycle taxi operation in Tanzania. Thank you for listening and for attention.
Yes, many thanks there, Mr. Sankagatano. And it's just interesting to see how the research and then into the curriculum, and how the curriculum actually contributes to improving the business conditions of individual riders, transitioning them from being a rider to actually becoming owner and becoming more independent. So I think that is a very interesting sort of indirect effect of the work that has been undertaken in ReCAP and by your organization, obviously. So I do see some questions in the Q&A, but for the sake of time, we will hold those for the moment. And at this point, I would like to hand over the moderator role to Nazir Ali for a discussion amongst panelists.
Sorry, I was muted over there. My apologies, everybody. Let me also add my welcome to that of Caroline. And I look forward to a stimulating discussion by the panelists. I haven't seen our Deputy Minister from Sierra Leone on the call as yet, but I'm sure that she will be joining us soon. So in the meantime, I think we can start with our discussions nevertheless. And I'm going to ask our colleague from the African Development Bank, Jeremy Bessie Aguma, to start with the panel discussions, etc. Jeremy is a transport economist and planner with extensive experience as far as the transport sector is concerned. He's been involved in the transport sector for over 31 years. With that short introduction, I hope, Jeremy, that I haven't done any kind of disservice to you with the short introduction, but I'm sure your bio is available for all to see. I'm going to ask you to kick off our discussions. And Patrick, who I see, Malajek, also from PIAC, my old colleague from PIAC, he's online as well. And there will be one or two others that I may call upon as time goes by. So please expect a little bit of the unexpected when you are called in to make a contribution. And let me say in advance, thank you for your contributions. So Jeremy, over to you. The areas that I'd like you to talk about is, of course, the African Development Bank involvement in the ReCAP program, which has been taking place over a number of years, and of course, directly as well with the countries that the African Development Bank has been supporting in the development of rural areas. Thanks, Jeremy. Over to you.
Nazir, it seems like Jeremy has lost connection. He was here a minute ago and he's no longer. So perhaps we can carry on to Patrick. Okay, this is what shows us as to the challenges we face as far as technology is concerned. I trust, Patrick, the connection in Paris is better.
Thanks, Nazir.
Good to see you, Patrick.
Good to see you, Nazir.
Patrick is the Secretary General of PIAC, who otherwise used to be known as the World Road Association, and we've gone back to the old name of PIAC, which has been around for over 100 years. And Patrick will tell us more about PIAC, but more importantly, I'm hoping that Patrick can show that as the program, this particular part of the ReCAP program has come to an end, there's a new avenue that the countries who have been involved in the ReCAP program have a new avenue available for them to continue with the work and be able to exchange information, etc. Thank you. Over to you, Patrick.
Thank you, Nazir. I have prepared some slides, so I don't know if they are available, but I can, if they are, it would be good to show them. Otherwise, I would do without them.
Yeah, I've got them. I'll load them up.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. So I'm working with PIAC, and I joined that organization 5 years ago now, and I'm very happy to be with you. Next slide, please. Yes, so PIAC, some of you may not be familiar with us. We were founded more than 110 years ago as a non-profit, non-political association. So we are really amongst friends. And our goal is to organize the exchange of knowledge on every topic related to roads and road transport. road safety, transport economics, pavements, bridges, intelligent transport systems, everything. Our main members, our lead members, are governments, and we have 124 member governments currently, as well as regions, companies, research organizations, and even individuals. The way we work is through experts, individual experts who volunteer their time through their organization, usually, to share knowledge, identify best practice, and establish reports. Currently, we have more than 1,000 experts in more than 20 technical committees. And the way they work is quite structured. We call that a strategic plan. We notify with our members how we can best serve their needs and what the priority topics are and what the issues are and how we can handle that. This is what we call the strategic plan. Next slide, please. So we exchange knowledge, well, rather standard, you would say. We produce reports, case studies, lots of seminars and workshops, especially in low and middle income countries. So on average, we publish one report every month, and we organize a seminar every 6 weeks. Of course, nowadays they are all online. And we also organize congresses. Some of you may have heard of the Abu Dhabi Congress, which took place about a year ago. That's just a snapshot of what we do. And it's all available for free, usually in English, French, and Spanish from our website. Next slide, please. So on rural roads, I've done a bit of research. So what do we have in store? We have two recent reports, but I would like to start with a workshop that took place a year ago in the Abu Dhabi World Road Congress, which we organized in the UAE. That workshop was actually chaired by Mark. So thank you again, Mark. And it was focused on the Rural Access Index. So it was basically a recap workshop, and it was very well attended and quite successful. So I invite you to check the proceedings of the Congress online. And we have two recent reports, one about earthworks and rural roads and the potential impact of climate change on those. And the other one is on materials that can be used in rural areas. There are also many more reports. We have a search feature that is quite powerful on the website, so please go and have a look. Next slide, please. So this is what we have. This is what we are doing. I told you a few minutes ago of our strategic plan. That's a snapshot of all the topics we are handling. And we have a new committee on accessibility and mobility in rural areas. This is really spot on, I guess. And next slide, please. That committee has a number of issues to handle. They're here on the screen. I will not go into the details because time is quite limited. And you can expect new reports from next year. What we can do together with ReCAP. So PIARC is not a research organization. We don't have the budget for that or the resources in general or the mandate. But what we do is organize the sharing of knowledge between practitioners, between experts, and sometimes researchers. That's true. So what we can do and what you are all invited to do is join our committees, and in particular this one called Accessibility and Mobility in Rural Areas. Please contact me. That's very, very welcome. And you could you could engage with all your peers from all over the world. You could work on those topics. You could contribute to further reports. You could maybe organize seminars in one country or another. And I think this would be a really, really good way to continue the work that has been organized by ReCAP with our excellent colleagues from FCDO in the UK. The next slide presents another opportunity, but it's a bit, that's a number of topics that are very important for us. I don't think we will have time to address that. Climate change, resilience, and road safety are very dear to our members currently. So you can expect to see a lot of that in our work, and including on rural roads. And the next slide is a bit of a product placement, I would say. We organize congresses. The next one will take place in Calgary. So that's Northern America. And there you will be able to share your experiences and learn from others. about winter service. So this may or may not be relevant for all countries, but about road resilience, which is relevant for all countries. And if you want to contribute, please note that the call for papers is still open until the end of January. So that will also be a good way to continue sharing ideas and best practice all over the world and learning from others. Thank you. That's all for this introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick, for that introduction to PIAC. I'd like to believe that our colleagues over here will, who have been on this call will actually take the arm which has been extended to join PIAC, because what PIAC does, although as you rightly have said, they don't do the actual research work, etc., but they do bring in the aspects and the perceptions from a practitioner's point of view. So this is real world, real life activity which is taking place within PIAC, and that kind of change that takes place between the different people from the different parts of the world is extremely, extremely valuable. But there'll be more information available directly from Patrick as well, who has very put up the contact details. With that, I see we're back now from, we're back with Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy, I hope you can hear me and you're back with us, Jeremy. I can't hear you, Jeremy. I think you're muted, sir. Jeremy?
Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
No, not
I'm
too
back.
worried.
I'm back.
Good to see you back with us. So
Thank you
welcome,
so.
Jeremy.
Thank you so.
I'm not sure whether you heard me when I first did your introduction, etc. In terms of the involvement of the African Development Bank in rural development, etc. Also specifically with the countries that you've been funding and some of the aspects that you will be covering as we've discussed as well. So Jeremy, all over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ali, for that introduction. I'm sorry that I had a challenge with the connection, but I'm back now fully. I'm back fully, thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, my name is Jeremy Maguma. I work with African Development Bank, and I just want to get this opportunity to share with you briefly on what actually we are doing to improve rural accessibility in Africa. The mission of the African Development Bank is to support sustainable economic development and social progress in Africa, and thus contributing to poverty reduction among its 54 regional member countries. The bank also has 26 non-regional member countries. To do that, the bank has identified 5 priority areas referred to as the high fives, intrinsically linked to the mission and vision of the bank. And these are Light Up Africa and Power Africa, Feed Africa, Integrate Africa, Industrialize Africa, and Improve the quality of life. Rural accessibility improvement is essential for achieving all the 5 priority areas, but it is very critical for Feed Africa and improve the quality of life of the African people. Improved rural accessibility facilitates delivery of agricultural inputs to farmers and agricultural produce to markets. Social services such as access to health facilities and education institutions in rural areas are facilitated by improved rural accessibility. The bank is contributing to improving rural accessibility through financing improvements of rural roads in 3 interventions. The first is the standalone rural roads improvement programs and project. The second one is rural roads as subcomponents of the national stock regional roads improvement programs and projects. And the last one is rural roads as a subcomponent of agriculture and rural development programs and projects in line with the bank's Feed African strategy of creating enablers by investing in hard infrastructure, in brackets, rural roads. I wish to take this opportunity to highlight on some of the bank's investments for improving rural accessibility. The bank financing its 54 regional member countries for improving transport infrastructure in the last 10 years is estimated at about United States $15 billion, part of which financed the construction and rehabilitation of over 30 kilometers of rural roads in the 54 countries. A notable success story is the Rural Access and Mobility Project, the RAMP, in Cross River State, where 477 kilometers of rural roads were paved with financing from the bank and the government of Nigeria. Plans are also underway to pave additional 500 kilometers of rural roads in the same state, and mobility and economic opportunities for a population of over 3.8 million people have been improved as a result of paving the rural roads in that Cross River in Nigeria. There are various other examples in other countries in Africa. Under the agriculture and rural development programs, the bank, with the ongoing operations valued at about USD 4.6 billion, have also invested in 40,000 kilometers of rural feeder and community access roads in the last 10 years in various countries on the continent. A notable success story is the Community Agriculture Infrastructure Improvement Project, CAIP, financed by the bank in Uganda, where over 8,000 kilometers of rural and community access roads were constructed, rehabilitated. And this has significantly improved mobility among the rural farmers in search of markets, as well as extension to social services. The bank is also collaborating with other development partners to improve rural accessibility. The bank is leveraging on partnerships with other institutions. In Zambia, for example, there is a 10,000 kilometer rural roads improvement program that the World Bank has supported the government of Zambia in developing. The implementation approach is output and performance-based road contracts, and the bank's intention is to support the rollout of this integrated as part of the North-South Corridor improvement initiatives under preparation, and one of the outcomes of which is the improvement of the Rural Accessibility Index. The bank supports institutional reforms and capacity building of its member countries has contributed to the establishment of road authorities and road funds, which are providing financial and technical resources for maintenance of rural roads. Whereas the road funds are not in all the maintenance needs, they're in the right direction for ensuring sustainable rural roads. Mr. Chairman, the bank has been actively involved in the ReCAP activities, mainly related to low volume rural roads, such as pavement structure analysis and DCP design models, rural access index, motorcycle safety, gender mainstreaming, climate resilient infrastructure, and asset management, plus the establishment of research centers and transport leadership development. All these are comprehensive initiatives for improving rural accessibility. Some of the ReCAP projects have produced manuals and guidelines for knowledge management, as some previous speakers have presented. The bank's presence in all the regions on the continent provides an opportunity for promoting some of the ReCAP outputs, such as the manuals and guidelines, and the establishment of research centers on a case-by-case basis in its member countries in collaboration with other development partners. I would wish to say that whereas the rural access index in sub-Saharan Africa is still low, at about 30%, the bank financing and that of other development partners is contributing to improving rural accessibility in Africa, an essential element for rural transformation and poverty reduction. Lastly, but not least, for those that may not be familiar with the bank, the criteria for accessing loans from the bank by the member countries involves assessment of the technical feasibility, economic and financial viability where applicable, social and environmental compliance of the proposed projects. We are excited about the work that has been done, and as a continent, we look forward to encouraging the member countries to adopt some of the technologies that have been proposed, as well as the method of improving rural accessibility on a more sustainable basis. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for that, Jeremy. Just to highlight some of the things that you've said over there, it's very heartening to see the partnership that you have, not only with the countries, but with other development finance institutions as well. And that the explanation of that you've provided regarding the criteria that the bank uses, I'm sure my colleagues on here who usually prepare all these voluminous applications for funding from you, they found it very useful as well in terms of the criteria that you do. And I'm sure that if any one of them want to contact you for any further information, you would welcome that. I'm not putting you on the spot, Jeremy, but thank you very much. I'm volunteering you, Jeremy. Yeah. Jeremy, yeah, having said that,
very welcome.
Also, look, just one other point I wanted to make. You know, there's been a number of us who've been trying to convince the African Development Bank to actually start funding directly educational initiatives, like, for instance, the one that one which has just been established for the leadership in sub-Saharan Africa. I understand that currently your policy doesn't allow for that unless they've done it, you know, they do it through the loan which has been granted. But perhaps you know, as a plea from our side to you to take this up with senior management at some stage. So thank you very much, Jeremy, for your input. Much appreciated. Now I'm going to move on.
You are very welcome. You are very welcome. I wish to comment on that, to say that it is actually not true that we don't finance unless it is through the loan. ADB is privileged to be hosting a quite number of trust funds, which come from various other development partners and bilaterals, and hence on a case-by-case basis, depending on how the application is actually done, the application will also benefit from trust funds, which are actually normal grants. The reason we actually encourage whichever agency is located in a given country to work with the country is because of it helps to actually see the aid flows to different countries. So every country, whether every agency can partner with the country in which it is located for purposes of submitting the application. That is actually a tip. It carries more weight when the application is actually recommended. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jeremy, and for correcting my misperceptions about what the AFDB has been doing. So all I can say to Charles, please make sure that you talk to Jeremy and you send in that application for the course that KNUSIS will be running. Thank you, thank you, Jeremy. Look, I'm going to ask Mahesh, who's on the line with us from Nepal, and a colleague of ours from Nepal, to make a few remarks regarding what the program has meant for rural access in Nepal. What is Nepal's view in terms of the uptake, how successful that has been, the acceptability of the literature which has and the research work which has been produced, and if there are any other sort of constraints and challenges that you face in terms of the embedment of the research work which has been done by ReCAP, and you've been a major player as Nepal in doing the work, especially in the Asian part of the ReCAP program. Thank you. With that, Mahesh, if I may call upon you, please.
Thank you, Nazir. Good afternoon and good evening. Thank you for the issue you raised for us. Actually, the department, my department, Department of Local Infrastructure, has been engaged for around 4 years, and we have carried out research basically in 2 topics. One is the roadside protection using bioengineering measures, basically bioengineering measures, the first one. And the second one is the construction of bridges with modular technology. Basically the precast post-tension modules These are the two research components we did in Nepal. Regarding the uptake, we didn't have any constraints. We are very ready to implement the outcome of the research. We have produced two documents. One is for right-of-way utilization, that is a roadside protection manual, which is basically useful for the local level governments and provincial level governments. And another is a modular bridge design manual, including specification for the bridge components and its construction. So these two manuals, we are very ready to submit it to the ministry for its final approval. Once these documents are approved, it will be circulated to the province and the local level governments for their implementation. And having these documents once approved and circulated, we have conducted one discussion with the secretaries of the provincial government ministries, and they are very ready to implement the modular bridge projects on cost sharing basis. So we are very hopeful to utilize the outcome of the research with the government fund. Thank you, Nazir. Nazir, are you hearing me?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a bit slow with my fingers when I got to unmute it.
Okay.
But thank you very much for that. Look, there's a very important point that you've raised over there in terms of the protection of the right of way, because something very rarely do people do recognize always as to the importance of what we call, protecting the road reserve for future use. Although our planning is over a 10, sometimes even over a 20-year horizon, etc., and you have to protect that. So land use planning becomes extremely important in terms of how development does take place without it becoming the rights of other people becoming an impediment for the long-term development of a road network. So thank you very much for highlighting that. That is much appreciated. And I wish you well in terms of completing the precast modules, modules related to the precasting of bridge sections, etc. Because I can understand with the challenges that Nepal faces as far as climate change and that is concerned, that becomes quite an important one. And again, I would, if I may suggest to you that you do engage with the people at PIAC as well. There may be some ideas that may be coming out of there will be able to help you in that particular front as well. So thank you very, very much, Mahesh. Yeah.
Thank you,
now,
Nazir.
I'm going to call upon Temba. Temba, unfortunately, we've not had our Deputy Minister available for something, as usual, must have cropped up. So I'm going to ask Temba from Sierra Leone to actually fill in for the deputy minister, just to tell people Temba has been involved in this program, I believe, for quite a while. Ever since I've known Temba, he's been part of this particular program. So I do believe that he's well placed to deputize for the deputy minister. Temba, if I may ask you to please take the floor. Thank you. Temba, can you hear me?
Temba's not online, Nazir.
Hello, Temba.
Hi, Nazir.
Oh, I
Nazir?
thought he was online. Okay, no, Jackie, because he just said, hello, yes, I'm listening to you, Jackie.
No, he's not here at the moment.
Okay, that's fine, because he just sent me a message to say that he will stand in. You see, that's why I'm calling upon him. But not, having said that, that doesn't matter. I'm going to ask another colleague of ours to do a similar sort of briefing for us as Mahesh has done. And this time I'm going to call upon Manzoor Sadek to please tell us about some of the initiatives that they've taken and, of course, the benefits that they have reaped from the ReCAP program. Manzoor, I'm hoping that you are online and you can hear me. So would you please take the floor? Thank you.
Okay, so we seem to have located Tamba. I think he's down in with the participants. So I'm just going to quickly bring him up to panel. And then he can talk.
Okay, then you're going to get Tamba first, and then Manzoor, if you can just keep yourself ready as well, please. We really love to hear from you as well as your contribution. Thank you.
Tamba, your microphone is off. If you can unmute. Yeah, you there?
So am I on now?
Yeah, you're on. No video, but we can hear you.
Okay, I can't see the rest of, but anyway. So am I on? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
So I can start, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I want to say good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Tamba Amara, Director of Feeder Roads, Sierra Leone Roads Authority. I'm standing in for the Deputy Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. I would like to say again as well that I was the coordinator, or I am the coordinator of ReCAP for Sierra Leone. So I've been really involved in all of ReCAP's activities. So I'm well placed to really speak about what it means for our country and how the projects have been faring on, and what our plans were or are for uptake and embedment. So ReCAP has meant a lot for Sierra Leone. I hope I'm still audible, right? I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah,
yes, you are, Tamba. Please go right ahead. We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So ReCAP has meant a lot for Sierra Leone because when ReCAP started in Sierra Leone, we actually knew we had some gaps, but ReCAP was able for us to really unpack our issues, unpack our challenges, and really put them into categories that we formed into projects. Hence, we were able to do projects like alternative surfacing options. We were able to do the GEM project in the Tonkolili district. We were able to gain from the motorcycle project in Tanzania and the documents that went with it. We were able to do all of the other projects in Sierra Leone, and all of them were so meaningful for us because when we did the scoping studies, we were really able, like I said, unpack our problems and repack them in a way that we can really conceptualize them. So ReCAP has meant a lot for us. For example, in the asset management project in Tonkolili district, we knew we had problems with putting our stuff together, us to be able to measure what our assets was like and the corresponding values that they had, and how maintenance could really change the landscape, continuous maintenance, I mean. So by the time we were able to go through and finish, they won the trial, or the pilot in Tonkolili district, that district with the staff involved in that district, and the Sierra Leone Roads Authority engineers that were involved were able to get a clear idea on what we need to do to get us to the next stage. And the good thing about it, we were able to clearly show what the improvements or what the benefits will be in terms of social and economical benefits, because we were able to measure all of that. And we were able to take the local councils along. In Sierra Leone, we have two tiers of government. We have the national government, where you have the government ministries, Ministry of Defense, Finance, etc. Then you have the rural authorities, wherein a mirror of what's happening on the national scale is being used there. So we were working with the local authorities who are really in charge of the rural network. And now the Tonkolili district is in a position to understand what it means for asset management and developing your network. So now in SLR, in terms of embedment, we are trying to roll that out to all to the other districts. As a matter of fact, as I sit here, we're actually starting to roll it out in December, and maybe we'll continue next year. And to all other 15 districts, there are 16 districts in all, and we are planning to do that. And once we are able to complete that with the minimal road fund that comes in to support feeder roads in the district, we should be able to have an enhanced system where people will be able to benefit and measure the benefits that they get in terms of maintaining their road network. But like I said, we have constraints in terms of funding normally when we're doing rolling out or doing other things. So we are trying to beat that. So now we've got the authorities, because the project was so designed that we had meetings and engagements with the different authorities, including the Road Fund, the Ministry of Finance, SLRA. So at least they know what's about, and they were able to see the benefit that could come out of them. So now we are rallying around them for them to be able to secure funding for us to do like roll out of those projects, or to embed them in whatever we're doing and make them mainstream. So that's something where, just to mention, I don't know how much time I have again, in terms of gender mainstreaming into what we're doing. We were doing gender mainstreaming, but we didn't have any guidelines. There were nothing, but we just made sure, because in the feeder roads department, we promote like 30% involvement in roadworks or whatever that comes with it. But now we are reviewing under the World Bank, with funding from the World Bank, we're reviewing the feeder rural roads policy. And when the consultant comes on board, we're going to make that document available to the consultant. And we're going to do it as a requirement that the consultant embeds those guidelines that are there in the rural roads policy, so that as we implement or plan, we'll always take gender as a major issue. So I just emphasized, I just narrowed down on 2 projects, but the rest of the projects also in Sierra Leone are so successful, and we're doing in different ways. We're doing different things to make them sustainable. So I want to thank you very much, Nazri, for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Temba. Thank you very much for that. That was extremely useful as well. Yeah, in terms of the progress that is made, specifically what is heartening to note is the embedment which is taking place within the local government, but also to see that, you know, the documents or the research work, I should say, which has been done by under the ReCAP program, is being used as the foundation for your other policy work, and which has been funded by the other DFIs. Now, look, we are about to run out of time, but I had asked our colleague Manzoor to also tell us a little bit about what's happening in his neck of the world. So if the other people do not mind, Manzoor, maybe if you can spend about 3 to 5 minutes telling us about what's happening in your end of the world, please. Please go ahead. Thank you. Manzoor, I take it you're still online with us?
He is online. He's just getting set up quickly.
Thank you. Manzoor, are you muted?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay now.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I think it's okay now. In Bangladesh, we had a number of studies from ReCAP. Number 1 studies was planning and prioritization of the rural routes. It was a very important study for Bangladesh because Bangladesh has a huge number of rural roads. For the investment to make the investment decision in Bangladesh, this study helped us a lot. And we are very happy that we have already uptaken and embedded in our official prioritization and planning issues. That was number one. And then number two issue is that we have a huge line of coastal belt. So to make the structures durable in this specific area, we did another studies. It is the study of marine structures. So now we are able to make our structures in these coastal areas durable, that may live, that may stay around 100 years or more. We've already made this study also uptaken and embedded. And the other issues is that with the help of ReCAP, we have been able to establish a research and development unit at LGD, means local government engineering department of Bangladesh. And we are very much happy that it is so far working well. And we have now our own revenue fund to work on them. And this fund is being increased every year. We are utilizing this fund effectively. These were very much focused intervention that ReCAP did for us. The most important issue is that investment in knowledge is very much important investment than other issues. So we have learned how to invest for knowledge development. It was not much in practice in our organization before. The most important achievement of ReCAP is that we have learned to invest in knowledge management and dissemination of knowledge, as well as in research and development. So I appreciate ReCAP and EFID to involve us with ReCAP and help us to stay with them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that, Manzoor. Much appreciated. Also very good to see that, that Bangladesh is finding this useful, the work that has been done under the ReCAP program, but not only useful, but to see that a specific development unit has now also been established. So that really shows the value that the ReCAP program has brought to all the countries which have been participating in this particular program, whether they've been in Africa or whether they've been in Asia. And I'm hoping that, irrespective of the fact that this particular program is coming to an end, that all of us who have been involved in some form or the other on this particular program over the time period that this program is run, that we will maintain connections with each other. And I'm sure that I speak for all that we'll be very happy to exchange information and ideas and bounce off any kind of challenges that we have with with each other to see how best to overcome the challenges that we have. Now, I must apologies to all the other people. I'm going to abuse my position as the chair of the session, but also to say to Afghanistan, I am extremely glad to see the progress that Afghanistan has made as far as gender mainstreaming is concerned, specifically with the fact that I was in Afghanistan in 2010 talking about such things. And 10 years ago, if you had just spoken about things like this, in places like Afghanistan, you were regarded as a maverick, as something's wrong with you to think that women. But to see an actual woman contractor, which is up and running, that is very heartening. So well done and congratulations. And I wish you guys all the best. With that, I'm going to hand over to Caroline again for the rest of the program. Thanks, Caroline. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Nazir. And yeah, it was very interesting to hear about all the contributions in the panel from both stakeholders and beneficiary countries. So thank you. I would now like to pass on to the last part of the webinar and invite my colleague Annabelle Bradbury, who's Deputy Team Leader of ReCAP and responsible for transport research, transport services research in ReCAP. And she will share with you some elements of the ReCAP exit strategy. Please, Annabelle.
Thanks, Caroline. Good afternoon. I'll try and go through this relatively quickly. So if there are any questions, please let me know at the end. So just to say that the ReCAP PMU have been preparing an exit strategy that provides a plan of action describing the handover process for ReCAP research outputs and outcomes to its community of practice, most notably the AFCAP and ASCAP member countries in which the ReCAP programme has been implemented. Next slide, please. The aim of the exit strategy has been to enable the outputs, outcomes and impacts of ReCAP to continue to be endorsed and embedded by partner countries, and that there is sustained continuation of research activities. To ensure that programme closure does not have a detrimental effect on activities that have been supported and implemented by ReCAP over the past 6 years, and to facilitate the growth of expertise and momentum for change in the partner countries, while ensuring there is an impetus to complete ongoing projects and to progress new innovative research initiatives. The exit strategy, which has been a live document for the last 3 months, comprises an action plan for handing over key programme assets to new hosts so that the 17 partner countries and the wider community of practice can continue to utilise the research outputs and maintain continuity and sustainability of the significant impact and benefits that have been achieved through the programme since 2014. To this end, national coordinators in each ReCAP country took part in an interview to agree a set of actions at country level and also to commit to adopt and disseminate regional project outcomes. And we're pleased to have received a number of commitment letters endorsing the action plans. Next slide, please. Arguably, the most valuable asset from the ReCAP programme is the Rural Access Library, an online repository with over 1,500 knowledge items generated from the ReCAP research projects and also predecessor programmes AFCAP and CCAP. The Rural Access Library includes national low-volume rural road manuals and guidelines, technical notes and policy documents, regional guidelines, for instance, the Climate Adaptation Handbook, Rural Road Asset Management Guidelines, the DCPDN Manual, the Rural Road Note 1, a guide to pavement design methods for low volume roads, gender mainstreaming guidelines, which I'm very pleased to hear from both Afghanistan and Sierra Leone has really been implemented to a significant degree. And the Rural Access Index Guidelines and motorcycle manuals, and there are more as well. There have also been 18 sets of cost-benefit analysis and a large selection of conference and journal papers, including a special edition on gender mainstreaming for the ICU Transportation Journal. Next slide, please. We're pleased to say that going forward, the Rural Access Library will be hosted by the International Road Federation from mid-December, and the ReCAP website will continue to function going forward and be accessible via the existing URL, research4cap.org. All videos, webinars, and other visual media will continue to be accessible through the ReCAP YouTube channel, but other social media channels, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook will be closed from the 14th of December. Other key components of the ReCAP programme that are being handed over to new hosts from 2021 include some key software systems and databases. Those include the Low Volume Rural Road Dynamic Cone Penetrometer software, DCP-DM, which will be hosted by CSIR in South Africa, the Low Volume Road Back Analysis database, and the ReCAP Benefit Assessment System, which will be hosted by the Building and Road Research Institute, BRRI, in Ghana. And access to these databases will be provided, or links to the relevant web pages will be provided on the resources page of the ReCAP website. And some of them are currently in the process of being transferred over. So I've just put, for the time being, I've just put the CSIR and BRRI websites, but do look at the resources page of the ReCAP website as well. The Centre for Sub-Saharan Transport Leadership, CSSTL, has been transferred to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, or KNUST, in Ghana, who will manage and run the Transport Sector Leadership Development Programme and will begin teaching blended learning modules in early 2021. ARMFA and ASANRA have committed to disseminating key research, ReCAP research for uptake and embedment by their membership. And lastly, just to say that Nkululeko Letta, my counterpart, the Deputy Team Leader on the Infrastructure side of ReCAP, will continue serving on the PIAC Climate Change and Resilience of Road Networks Committee post ReCAP in a personal capacity. Next slide. The exit strategy document containing all the action plans and information from this presentation is available on request and will be a key output of the programme. Thank you for listening. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Yes, many thanks, Annabelle. I saw a question pass by. So all of ReCAP's research outputs are and remain available in the Rural Access Library, which can be found on the ReCAP website, www.research4cap.org. Okay, we've come to the end of the program of this webinar, I'm afraid we didn't have the time to respond to all the questions that have been raised in the chat or the Q&A, but we hope to get back to you and maybe get some feedback from the speakers or panelists that were not available at the time of the question. I will now pass the floor to the ReCAP Programs Director, Tracy Lane, for the closing of the webinar. Tracy, you would need to unmute.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you to the speakers, panelists, moderators, and guests for joining us today for the ReCAP final event. I hope you've enjoyed seeing and hearing the various voices and perspectives on the program over the years, as well as contributions from partner organizations on ongoing and future work in this space. Speaking on behalf of Cardinal Emerging Markets and our program implementation unit, it has been a pleasure to implement this program and to be a part of the critical work of improving rural access for communities in Africa and Asia. As we heard today, the ReCAP program has for 6 years delivered high quality research on transport and rural access relevant to individual countries, but also across regions in both Africa and Asia. I had intended to kind of highlight some of the key achievements that really stand out for me, but I think in the interests of time, and also because these have been discussed already throughout the event, I think I'd like to just highlight for me the true partnership that ReCAP has been, and I think that's been a key element of its success, and I hope one of the key elements that continues beyond the end of the program. ReCAP has established an active community of practice, including technical experts, practitioners, and stakeholders from all partner countries and beyond. And I'm really hopeful that these relationships will continue to grow from strength to strength, even after the end of ReCAP. So as we close the event today, and as we close out the last few days of the program, I would like to thank FCDO again for funding ReCAP and for being the driving force behind the program over the years. I'd also like to thank our partner countries, government agencies and institutions, and our community of research providers, as well as our own program management unit, who have been instrumental in the successful delivery of this program. And with that, I'd like to say, have a nice rest of the day. I wish you all well, and I encourage you all to keep in touch and to continue to engage with each other, to continue to build on the legacy of ReCAP. Thank you.
So